screen there and see how we look. Is it lined up right?
Did you see this? Phoenix City's hiring Patrick Nix.
Oh, that'll be good.
Who is?
Central down there in Phoenix City.
I was hoping they'd be hiring his son.
All right, y'all ready to launch it?
Yeah.
I'm ready.
All right, go ahead and launch a YouTube one. Hey, hello. Launch Facebook. Hello to everybody on YouTube.
We like you guys better.
Yeah,
That's why we give it to you first.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the UGA Sports Live podcast. My name is Radi Nabulsi. I'm joined by former Georgia head coach Jim Donnan, an actual Hall of Fame coach, and a Hall of Fame recruiting guy who will eventually be put into the UGA Sports Hall of Fame for recruiting.
Amongst many other indiscretions.
Well, we got to put it in we can't quite put it in just UGA Sports Hall of Fame. It has to be
Good
recruiting
job leading into that stuff about
under
the
30.
tight end before anybody had it, as far as Jamie Newman before anybody had it.
We had that one pretty well covered
See,
up.
this is why
Staying with Burton when nobody had it. I'm just going to give you some love. I mean, people need to understand.
if you talk about all the scoops that he
Pickens.
did, then he's going to ask for a raise. So let's keep that on the minimum.
Hey, you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. Go for it, man. Go for it.
You were all over the I don't call it just recruiting because, this is graduate transfers. This is team level stuff. So this is roster management. So good job on that. I appreciate it. I also appreciate our other sponsors, Athens Ford, Aaron Overhead Doors, Your Pie, Academia Brewing Company. And, of course, we're here at Champy's on Baxter Street, who put together a fantastic dinner for us on Sunday. We had our Christmas meal, if you will. We don't when it comes down to a holiday staff party, you can't quite do that in November.
We don't
when the
really
team's
see
going on.
each other past August.
Yeah, December is crazy because you get the lead up to signing day, and then you have Christmas, and then right after that, we all head to different cities to cover All-American games and bowl games and stuff like that. So we usually have to do it in January, February, and this past Sunday we had a fantastic meal here at UGASports.com. So a big shout out to our friends, here at Champy's, who had the UGASports.com staff party, if you will, here. So shout out to them. Today we got the catfish plate out there. You've got to come by and try this stuff. It's fantastic.
Get you some of them hush puppies.
Yeah, I'm telling you, they're fantastic. Also, I want to give a shout out to 365 Game Day. We are on their Facebook page. So if you're watching us there, please share this. It doesn't cost you anything to watch the show. You get a lot of great scoop. You get a lot of laughs, hopefully. And all we ask is that you like the 365 Game Day page. If you need any gear from them, if you need any Georgia gear, buy it from them. Also, shout out to 11 Alive for being our great corporate sponsor, corporate partner with us. It's a big deal. I'm about to go. If you see me doing this while everyone's talking, it's usually because I'm sharing the show on the 11 Alive page. So it's not that I'm trying to be rude to Jake or Coach Donnan. It's just we're just trying to share it in as many places as possible, which means you could help by doing so. All right, Coach, a lot to talk about this week. New quarterback, new tight end, 2019 season put to bed last night with LSU champions. I don't even know where to start. You got a huge recruiting weekend coming up this weekend with the class of 2021 guys. Got the number 37 player in the country coming in, the number 21 player in the country coming in. You've got
that's an unofficial visit, though. It's not. They can't visit, can they? They can't spend the night unless they.
No. They're just coming into town. Big junior
it's like
day
it's a
this
junior
weekend.
day. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Way to help me out. But I
would
don't
say there's
think
a
they
lot
can
going
actually
on.
take official visit to
No,
April.
not yet.
Yeah,
but you get them in.
I think it's great to get those juniors in here and jump on them. Everybody, because most of the schools have their classes already set for 20, and so they got those weekends and use them for the juniors. That's tremendous. I think you get a chance to get those guys on campus, and we've been great at doing that. And our coaches we talked about like last year will be setting their sights on a couple guys like reinforcing Broderick Jones and Van Pran. But, most of the time they'll be going out and looking at juniors. They can't talk to them on their campus at their high school, but they can fly the helicopter in there, and everybody in the school knows Kirby's there. And, I remember last year he flew in there to see Robinson very early, and that's very impressive to the young men for the head coach to come in and see them like that.
Yeah, they've done a really strong job of utilizing the time that normally goes with used to go with chasing the extra 30 guys down all the way to that first Wednesday in February. They've taken most of that off of their plate. Now it's really focused around the juniors. Allows you to start building those relationships and really start sealing the deal for a lot of these important guys, that you want to be leaders of your class. Brock Vandegrift, for example, is a guy who's probably going to be over here this weekend. That could be really huge for Georgia, and, they'd certainly love to go ahead and reel that in.
Well, speaking of quarterbacks, and I don't want to take away from all the big names that are coming in, but, Coach, we need your thoughts on Jamie Newman.
Well, I'm very impressed with the guy, just the fact that I was able to watch him a lot over the last couple of years because, a lot of Thursday night games for Wake, and you get a chance when it's the only game, you watch that, maybe the pro game. But, he's a big, strong kid, and he's from my hometown, so
Really?
I've got some. He's the second best quarterback to ever come out of there. No, he's a lot better than me, but I had to get that in there. But he played at Graham, which is a school that's adjacent to where I went, Williams. But just a lot of good comments from people that I know right after he came on board here, reinforcing what a good guy he was and how, good family. And he never hurts to hear all that stuff. And I know that since he's been here, the everybody around here has been very impressed with the way he handles himself. And just the fact right off the bat, he's reaching out to the receivers, talking to them on the phone and doing everything that you need to do to fortify yourself. And I just want to take a second and say congratulations to Jake Fromm on a tremendous career. And, we have a tendency to talk about the new guys more than we do the ones that aren't here. But when you look at Jake and what he's done for Georgia and his career and the kind of person that he's been and the way he's stood up for the G and Andrew and also losing Wilson and Swift, I mean, that's four pretty good guys off one team, to go to the NFL pretty quickly. So, but in the case of Newman, just an outstanding talent, enforces the run-pass option a little more with his ability to run the ball. Had almost 600 yards rushing last year. And, we talk about the limits on the league that he played in, but also there's some really good players in that league. And, he did a good job against teams like Nebraska and people like that in the non-conference game. So just kudos to James Coley, just a terrific job jumping on the kid when it, obviously we knew that Jake might be leaving, but just there's a lot of rumors when things like that about the guy leaving or staying, but also about you got to get your ducks in a row and have somebody in place. So even though the kid wasn't in the transfer portal, I'm sure there was some back and forth between some other people, about who we would go after. So kudos to James and certainly Coach Smart, sealing the deal. It's a terrific match. We need the guy, and these other guys will benefit from being around him, like Dwan and Beck and Bennett. We'll see how that works.
Mark Richt made the comment, I believe it was yesterday, that he thought Jamie Newman would enter next season as the best quarterback in the SEC, and that's with the departures of Tua Tagovailoa, or Tagovailoa, whatever. Joe Burrow, obviously. Jake Fromm's out now. Some change at a lot of these spots. How do you think?
I think it's putting a little heat on the kid, but at the same time, it's good for Mark because he works the ACC network and he gets to see him a lot more than I do. These guys get to go in there and watch them practice and see things. But, we got Trask back who's done a terrific job. And, Florida backdoors in there and ends up number 6 in the country with 2 losses. So you got to give them credit. It wasn't necessarily a backdoor, but, I think there's several teams probably in those last 4 in the top 10 maybe better than Florida. Don't y'all think?
Yes.
I think Alabama was kind of low.
Yeah.
Although they came out 8.
That's what I was alluding to. Yeah. You put Tua out there when he's healthy, and they lost by 3, but to LSU, but they just played so poorly in the first half and did so poor clock management at the end of the first half that's put that game out of reach. But just outstanding, great year for quarterbacks in our league, and now several of them are gone. So we'll have to see. But I would think that Jamie will be right up there. Of course, he's got to win the job here, and I think that's the only way to do it. You just can't give it to him because Bennett's put a lot of time and effort in the practice here, knows the system, and but I really think the supporting cast is going to be pretty good too.
I like the fact that he uses legs. I mean, obviously a heck of a quarterback, great downfield, long ball passer, great accuracy. Our guys, Brent Rollins, showed us some numbers that this kid's thrown. Jamie's he's been on the money on those deep throws. You'd like to see that. But there were times, I know when we did our watch along, that you just said, look, if Jake Fromm keeps the ball here, he's untouched. We saw it last night, Joe Burrow tucking and running. What got Clemson to the title game was the legs, not just the arm, but the legs of one Trevor Lawrence, who you and I would never expect to run as hard as he did. He took on hits, he took blows. There are times when the defense has you pegged, and you need to
I'm just going to take up for Jake a little bit there, just because with our situation at backup quarterback and our defense and everything, I just don't think we're going to take the risk on Jake running the ball any more than we needed to, and consequently we didn't do that. He's certainly capable, maybe not on the level of these other guys, but I really feel like, though, that our inside zone next year with the threat of this kid keeping the ball is going to be greatly enhanced, and then also the RPO off of that where he starts to run and then dishes it off like Burrow did last night, just going to be really good. And regardless of what people think, we've got every play that LSU uses, that Wake Forest uses, all that stuff.
I was told LSU runs stuff the Saints does. It's all pro stuff.
Looked good that first quarter, didn't it? No, I'm just kidding you. I mean, that was great adjustments by Coach Insminger and Coach Brady, because they gave them a different – you got 15 days. You got to try something different. And I thought they – lined up in that 3-3 stack that Baylor did. They went up to Iowa State, Clemson did, in the offseason and picked up some pressures from Iowa State, and they used those against Ohio State in the championship game, previous game, and it worked against Fields, particularly in the second half. They went to that a lot, and they couldn't pick it up. I think LSU had a chance to practice against that and did a pretty good job. But that number 11, Simmons, just drove them crazy there in the first quarter. But field position had a little bit to do with it too. I mean, they're backed up, and but let me just tell you, I know that kid number 8 from Westlake is a good player, but number 1 just jumped on him, didn't he? I mean, what's that guy's name? Terrell from Westlake that plays corner.
Oh, AJ. Yeah.
We had him as a 5-star.
Yeah.
Well, he's a good player, but I mean, Chase, come on. And he dropped one.
I'm really proud of Jamar Chase, because he was one of those kids. I've talked about this a couple of times. Just kind of bounced around a little bit. A Kansas commit at one time, was committed to Florida. I don't think they really wanted him at the end, and comes home and ends up staying there at LSU.
He got another year, too, didn't he? He just sophomore, right?
Yeah, yep.
I'm glad he does, because that helped us get Burton.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's a good point. And I thought AJ started out having one heck, that first quarter. AJ was everywhere. He was doing well, but then you can only contain Chase so long, and then Stingley, your freshman cornerback on the other side for LSU, that kid was fun to watch.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Clemson really attacked one for, that Vaughn kid. They say he's going to be a high draft choice, but Clemson made him look. I mean, it's hard to cover a guy. I mean, that's one of the toughest things. You see people in the pros. I mean, they get beat all the time. So, but it was just a case of which team could hold up their protection. I thought LSU did some good things in the second half and rattled old Lawrence a little bit, and they got behind the sticks and weren't very good on third down. And, last year they were unbelievable on third down against Alabama, and that's the difference in the game.
I want to switch it up back to talking about Georgia and that transfer quarterback. One of the things you said that really kind of caught my ear was you said that, Jake, they didn't want to risk it too much with him last year, given the backup situation. You've got Newman in now. You've got a pretty competent freshman in Carson Beck coming in. Dwan Mathis still up in the air about whether or not he'll be cleared. I feel that he's very close to probably getting that clearance.
He expects to be cleared.
And then, and then Stetson Bennett. I guess what I'm saying is, do you feel that you're more able to take those risks this year?
Right. And then you can build it around what the quarterback's strengths are. I mean, this guy looks to run the ball as part of his MO, whereas Jake would just take it if it was there. But I think the whole offense has got a lot of potential we showed that with really focusing on Pickens in the bowl game, and our protection was really good too, and really cut it down to a few things and really executed. I mean, it was great, and just like it was in the first half against Auburn and Florida, and I mean, we had the leads against a lot of teams.
A lot of people asking this question, Coach. Do you think that we're going to see some change from the offense given Jamie Newman's skill set?
I think every team's going to base their skill set and what their players do and rally around what they do. And I think we got the flexibility to do that. But, we just got to see how he blends in with the supporting cast. And you're not going to just give him the job without him earning it. But, I mean, he's certainly going to he certainly got the shot to be the guy based on he wouldn't have come here unless he knew that he was going to have every opportunity. And he looks at the competition he's going against. So I think I'm sold on our potential, and we just got to go out there and make it happen, as far as keeping everybody healthy and doing the job.
One of the things I really like about him, too, gradual improvement each year, has gotten better each year, up from elevated his completion percentage over about 61%, up from almost 59.5 the year before, doubled his passing yardage, yards per attempt. He got 0.2 better. On the ground, obviously, picked up a lot more yards this year, and had a 1,000-yard receiver in Sage Surratt.
Other thing about him that he'll have here is he'll have a defense. I mean, they played a game against somebody that was 62. I think it's LSU. I mean, Louisville 62 to 50-something in regulation. You know what I mean? And then North Carolina was down to the wire. So, you talk about things that make your mouth water. Boy, our defense next year.
And I do want to point this out. I know a lot of people consider it to be a moral victory, but Georgia's defense wound up at the end at the end of regulation last night, the number one scoring defense in points per game for the entire nation.
Not bad for some guy named Dan Lanning from Memphis, huh?
I don't know who the hell.
Yeah, I'm happy for everybody there because those stats are certainly something you got to look at. But scoring defense is probably as good as anything. That really tells you. And we only gave up 2 rushing touchdowns, none to backs, but a lot of pride there for the defensive staff, particularly when everybody's questioning them. Hey, we don't have much experience, and you basically got 2 new guys coming in. He was the coordinator, and Charlton Warren, and
I forgot about Charlton Warren. That secondary was lights out.
Absolutely.
So, but
after losing DeAndre Baker, you lose the number one guy in the secondary, the first guy taken in the draft, and you're like, hey, Charlton, come in. Oh, you don't get that guy. You got to work with these other cats, and he turned out a fantastic secondary.
We didn't have quite as many stars that could go pro on defense, and all of them are coming back. So that's going to enhance the defense too. And then you add some of these guys, these freshmen, sprinkle them in. But
so basically,
we've been 2-7-4. We were number 2, 17, 7, and 18, and now 4 and 19. And I know everybody wants a little bit better, but it's not as good as we want. But at the same time,
it's better than you were.
Well, and to me, it reminds me of when you watch the World Series of poker, and there's always the same 10 guys around the final table. That's because it's skill to make it there, and you can't win the thing unless you're sitting at that final table. So,
well, you bring up the poker thing. I always say you have to be in it to win it. You know? And so I'm like, look, if you're not in that range, you stand no chance. Now, let's say you ended 15, 19, and 12. What do you legitimately think your chances are next year? You're not going to be in it.
You're not close to kicking down the door at 15.
No.
And when you look at
even with a great class, you're not going to do it.
You look at it last night, you see Nick Saban there sitting there in his Aflac coat, and he's talking. I don't know if that's the same coat or not, but
I thought that was my exact
He
thought.
He did a good job analyzing things and all, but he knew it's got to be burning his saddle, knowing that LSU's there. But realistically, the last 2 games he's played against LSU and Clemson gave up over 1,000 yards, 1,046 yards, and almost 100 points to those 2 teams. And he's a defensive guru. And, it just shows you the way it's just these matchups and these RPOs, and the game keeps changing, and it's hard to defend. And
Yeah, I saw a guy. I don't even know who it was, but on Twitter last night says, after that kind of lackluster first quarter, he's like, "This just proves that Ohio State's the best team in the country." And I'm like, "What the hell are you smoking? They had their chance, they lost." I know a lot of people thought, well, if Georgia had X, Y, no, Georgia had their chance too.
Yeah, I know the ESPN today had the power rankings based on computer, and they had Ohio State 1 and had these guys had LSU 3.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
Yeah.
Base it on the field, man.
Well, that's my point. It comes down to performance and what you're going to do. I did have another point, but I forgot it, so we'll skip it and move on to. I want to give a big shout out to our friends at Athens Ford.
Let's don't forget to talk about that tight end too. So.
Yes, definitely.
Our friends at Athens Ford. I don't want to call it a pet peeve, but when you first go to their website, you get a pop-up. Normally, you hate pop-ups. This pop-up is trying to give you $500 just for visiting the website. It's like, hey, are you visiting the website? Would you like $500 off a new or used vehicle, any vehicle in stock? And you have to say, no, thank you, if you want to get rid of it. Or you can just say yes, and then they'll give you $500 on your next vehicle when you pop in. I bring that up because right now, when you look through the new specials, they have incredible deals on the 2019s. It's 2020 now. They still have some 2019s left over. You can get a Ford F-150, 0% financing, APR for 72 months for qualified buyers. If you want a Ford Expedition, 0% financing, APR for 72 months. Ford Fiesta, 0% APR for 60 months for qualified buyers. I mean, they have these ridiculous deals. You can actually buy a 2019 Ford Fiesta SE for $11,995. So, or do the 0% for 60 months. So, if you don't want to do the 0% finance, you can get it for under $12,000, a brand new Ford Fiesta. So,
And they'll give you $500 just for
yeah,
visiting
that's
the
what I'm
website.
saying, just the website. So hit them up. They'll take care. Even if you're driving out there, just swing by, pick it up. If you planned on going there first, don't go by their website first. Get the $500 and then walk in with that. Say, oh yeah, look, I would like my $500. I mean, we don't pay you $500 to go to UGASports.com. I guarantee you that.
We do not. No,
we do not.
We don't pay me $500 to go to UGASports.com.
No.
All right, this was. I thought we got a bunch of questions, and like you said, I definitely want to talk about Tre McKitty because I think that's probably the second most important storyline of the week, I guess, other than. Well, the Cade Mays thing happened last week after the show went down.
Did it?
It did.
Oh, my God.
Doesn't that seem like a distant memory by now?
That's how fast this stuff
Given
moves.
Yeah. But Tre McKitty, huge pickup, I think, for Georgia. Position in need. You get a guy similarly sized to Darnell Washington, not obviously as gigantic, but 6'4" in that 240, 250 range. Prolific pass catcher for them. Good blocker, too. Just
got some tape. I mean, you got some realistic catches and, as very ability to move out, move in, fairly good blocker. We got that room really got improved with Washington and this guy coming in, and I don't know what spring practice going to hold for Goody. I mean, is he going to play baseball or?
I think that given his injury situation, it would make sense for him to stick around the football field a little and work on that. But I don't know for sure. I think that, as you said, you improved that room a lot. I think you improved Darnell Washington a lot by bringing this kid in because you get a guy, like I said, not exactly the same build, but a similar player, a big dominant guy, a guy who's going to get down there, play it like basketball, box you out in the end zone and really go up and make some tough catches for you. So from that aspect, I think it's a big pickup for Georgia. You needed a grad transfer, and I think, just based on what I know about what's in the portal, I think you got 1 and 2. I think you got the best player at each position in the portal.
I think in the case of this guy, I mean, he went to IMG, so he's has been trained pretty good, and then Florida State over the years has had a good offense. The last couple of years has kind of fluctuated backward, but I think also reinforces Todd Hartley in the Tampa area. I mean, this guy knows what he's doing down there. He's recruited there from Miami and Georgia. And you get a kid like that, these other people look at, I mean, any way you look at it, the influx of Florida talent to the Georgia program has been huge.
No question.
Now, we've lost a couple in-state players that, particularly to Clemson, that bothers all of us. But, boy, when you take Campbell, Stevenson, Wilson, and then this year Rosemy, and now you bring this kid in and Jalen Carter. Who else? What can we say about it? But wow.
I really like this point. I wanted to touch on this. This is from Curb Appeal over on the vent or over on the vault at UGASports.com.
Curb Appeal.
Curb Appeal. Kirby, as in Kirby. He says, what is the most overlooked aspect of landing Jamie Newman? And then he comes back and he says, for me, in my opinion, in an alternate dimension, Kirby is a top GM in the NFL with the way he manages rosters. How is he so proficient at filling those needs and going out and identifying those needs?
Well, he's very adept at analyzing talent and picking and choosing talent. When you look at the way he was able to do that at Alabama, he was their lead guy. I mean, any way you look at it, all the guys he recruited, and he, being a coach's son, he grew up seeing how kids, what kids could do and what they can't do maybe, and the way his dad worked around them. So I think roster management is huge, and having Marshall Malco here checking it out all the time and looking at I know, like these guys, like last week, the last day of work before they broke for a couple of days, which they deserve it. They were in there looking at and analyzing their 2021 class, and boy, you better be in there and know about these guys when you go in there and talk to Kirby. I mean, and they, so they were ready to go on that. So, and, you got to start looking at where we're going to go and mapping it out and looking in the future. I always talked about two things in any profession, what you like in a guy. Number one, the ability to look into the future, not just be so straight on looking at what's happening now and be able to plan. Can this guy develop? Are we going to need to get somebody else for him? Do we need to, really stay with him? How are we going to manufacture some players when we got injuries? Whatever it might be. Same way with the CEO of an industry. And then number two, how do you handle pressure when you have adversity, when you have things all around you? How can you react, and what do you do with it? We've had some bad situations. We've had some good situations, but I think Kirby's really good at handling the negative too.
Absolutely.
I think when you talk about what's the most overlooked thing of getting Jamie Newman in here, I think it's experience. People, you just assume, well, hey, here's a guy coming in. But if you weren't getting him, you're either starting
in my mind, you had to have a grad transfer.
Yeah, absolutely. You're starting a kid that's a true freshman in Carson Beck, a guy in DeJuan Mathis say he's cleared. He's a guy who hadn't played a whole lot. It's been a while since he's been able to lay something and get hit. A guy who's played a good bit in Stetson Bennett, but not at this level, So here's a guy who played, and I don't want to rip on Wake, but they don't have the same defense that Georgia does. They don't have the same offense and running backs that Georgia does. So here's a guy who's like, look, you were able to do well in that situation. Look what we're going to put around you. Now, granted, your competition's going through the roof.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot harder, but, it's a guy, I just think that big game experience, like you said, in a game where he had to go 62, 50-plus points for both teams, he's been through that. None of these other guys have. So, to me, you just assume, well, he's a graduate transfer, he's got experience. Don't discount that. Don't just assume that's, just accept that as par for the course. This is huge to replace a guy.
Let's just reverse the tables here. And let's say you're Jamie Newman and his parents, and you're making the biggest decision in your life, and it's your second biggest decision because the first was where you're going to go, and now the second one is like a JUCO guy getting ready to go. You better go where you can play. Same thing with this guy. He's got everybody in the country that needs a quarterback. He can make his choice. He could go to Oregon. They're losing Herbert. He could go so many places. But I think deep down, he chose us as much as we chose him.
All right, good point. Sure.
And he chose the leadership of Coach Kirby Smart and James Coley and the background of our team and playing in the best level. And you also look, which Kirby can sell, and I'm sure that, come on, man. You go back to Smith and all the way down. You look at Wolf last year. He couldn't ask for more. What happened to him?
Lawrence Cager did all right.
And I saw Cager yesterday, and they're getting treatment. And, he's just so excited about how much better he's prepared to go to the NFL after playing on this level, compared to the ACC, which is good. I'm not talking anything's wrong with it, but, his agent was telling him, you got all this tape, you got all this stuff here. And he came here to Georgia to try to, because he believed in Coach Smart, because he'd recruited him, and he also had played for Coley, So I think we got to give a little credit to these kids that make this decision. because selfishly they got to look at what can get me to the next level, and they feel like coming here can do it.
Yep. I agree 100%. Speaking of making a good choice, if you get a chance and you need something done with your garage door, please be sure to check with our friends at Aaron Overhead Doors. They big supporters of UGASports.com. They support. They sponsor our columns. They sponsor our website. They sponsor our podcast. So they do fantastic work for us. A 4.96 star rating. So as close as you can get to a perfect 5. 666 verified nearby now reviews. And I was checking on something Ryan Lucia put up on his Facebook page the other day. They put in this door. That has this bronze powder coating with these frosted tempered glass, and has this Wi-Fi remote control. Wi-Fi garage door opener, so the guy can just, when it comes up, he just open it with his phone. Beautiful doors. This house looks fantastic, and it's because they don't just put in those ugly standard, machine pressed panels. They can actually do some custom work for you. So if you need any sort of service, the folks out there will do it for you.
That was a deal breaker for Jamie. He got one of those.
my folks need a new garage door. So big shout out to Ryan Lucia, the folks at Red Doors for sponsoring our show, going on to another year.
All right, a lot of questions today, as you would imagine. One of the big ones we're getting from everywhere. We're getting it on YouTube. We're getting it on Facebook. We're getting it over on the boards at UGAsports.com. A report from Mark Schleybaugh comes out today. Todd Monken mentioned as a potential candidate to fill Georgia's open coaching vacancy.
Becoming to coach special teams.
Well, that's what I'm asking you, Roddy. What have you heard on it?
That's news to me. I mean, we've broken a lot of coaching hires over the years. I mean, I remember we broke Sam Pittman, we broke Jim Chaney, we broke all these other guys coming in.
Todd Hartley.
I can't. I mean, I lost count of all the ones that we've brought in.
You talked about all the guys that left too. You had those two strength coaches. We talked about
Haley was gone.
Fountain
We talked about Fountain. I mean, again, I'm just saying, and we've usually have a pretty good feel on this as to who's coming and who's leaving. In this situation, that's when Schleybaugh put it out there. That was the first I heard of it. So, I mean, hey, it could be. For all I know, I trust Mark. I mean, Mark and I went to school together. He's a hell of a reporter. If he's hearing it, then that's great. But at the same time, this time of year, I take everything with a grain of salt just because, well, let's go back to the Eddie Grant thing. Okay? It's a pet peeve because the guys in Kentucky still give me garbage. Not our rivals guys, but certain people in the state of Kentucky still insist to me that Eddie Graham was offered the OC spot at UGA, and I'm like, I will put my job on the line and tell you that did not happen. Now, did he and Kirby talk? Yes, Kirby offered him a tight end's job, and now he's like, wait, why would I leave as the OC of Kentucky to go be a tight ends coach? Screw that, But it leaks out that Kirby Smart spoke to Eddie Grant. So what does Kentucky do? Kentucky panics. They give Eddie Grant a raise. Do they have the same agent?
I can tell you this.
So.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Todd Monken's agent's Jimmy Sexton, and stuff like that gets out there in the marketplace. Todd Monken was a good coach at Southern Miss. He did a good job. I covered him. He went to the Tampa Bay Bucks and was offensive coordinator there for a couple years. And then this last year he went up to Cleveland Browns. He's not a quarterback-centric offensive guy. He's more of he coached wide receivers at Oklahoma State. That's when I first met him. So I just don't I don't see any openings on our offensive staff right now unless we make a move and move some people around special teams. I know Kirby's heavily involved in special teams himself. We might spread it out and bring in another assistant. We really got 5 offensive coaches and 4 defensive coaches right now.
But Kirby's really involved in the defense, so that kind of works. But if, let's say you moved a Todd Hartley into that, because he's coached special teams before. Let's say he moves over there or he gets more responsibility there. And are you going to move Hankton? Are you going to move Dale McGee? If you say you brought him in as a co-offensive coordinator, so it's him and James Coley, who's coaching the quarterback. It just it's kind of an odd fit there. So now you're going to go, and
Well, I really think a lot of investment here with Coley's straight up recruiting on Jamie Newman and Vandergriff and Williams and all these guys. Maybe I can't see Todd Monken coming here unless he's a coordinator, though. I mean, I don't even know why that's come up, but I made that statement a couple weeks ago. If Kirby's making a move to change offensive coordinators, he would have hired Bobo, or he wouldn't have let Chaney walk last year. I just think I feel good about where we are with our staff on offense, although our people out there don't, but that really doesn't matter to me. But were you happy with the Baylor game? Didn't you think we did a good job in that game?
It started slow, so that's
it's okay to be like I say. You got to look into the future, and you got to be. We didn't have a great year on offense, but we played 2 games in the rain. We played without some of our best players. The worst thing could happen to us losing Holloman over the summer. It just killed us, and we just never had it. Then Cager's come along, and then he gets hurt. So I'll just I think. We need
and not having Terry Godwin or Mecole Hard. When you see what Mecole's done in the NFL, and congrats to him.
Riley Ridley.
Hey, bring it home, Mecole. Baby.
Yeah. You want to talk about a fantastic party. If Mecole Hardman gets a
Bowman,
Super
Georgia,
Bowl.
I've never seen one like that, man.
Saying,
I'm telling you.
UGASports is going to be in attendance to that party. Hell, we'll throw it for
absolutely.
him.
So what did Slayball say? What was it?
Just that the rumor was that Monken was being considered as a potential addition to the staff. That it didn't. I don't think it went much further than that. But like I said, it's generated a lot of questions. A lot of people wondering about that open spot. I get that. Speaking of open spots, got a couple questions about that. Shown 4 over on the vent at UGAsports.com says, do you think we add another transfer quarterback? I don't see that. I thought that maybe you might get some rumblings of Chase Bryson. We were last week.
Rick King's available.
Well, yeah. I don't think that you're going to have – this is how rumors get started. This is I'm going to be dealing with that now for the next 2 weeks.
So what's the latest on King?
No,
What's up with
I don't
King?
know, but he's not going here.
I heard
he's
he was
not
in
coming
Athens.
here.
Is he visiting Athens?
I think that Chase Bryce was a possibility. You get Jamie Newman. He was number 1 on your board. That was the guy you wanted all along. You get him. So I don't see another transfer quarterback.
Well, you told us on New Year's Eve
in.
that was the guy that they wanted.
Newman, yeah.
Yeah, so.
We do have a question here from Shown 2. He says, which of our new wide receivers makes coach's mouth water?
Oh, I mean, all of them have separate things that make me feel good. I like Smith's speed. I like Burton's overall, just really, Burton was going to LSU, and we stole him there at the last. I mean, that's just incredible. And I thought that
Rosemead's pretty lights out, too.
Go ahead. Let me finish.
I'm just sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I'm not saying anything for the rest of the show.
I mean, Rosemead's good. I mean, and then Robinson, I watched him over here. He's a very physical looking kid too. So
absolutely,
all of those guys just, and then we got some good ones coming back.
Franklin, Tennessee Dawg says we're going to go after another grad transfer wide receiver. I don't think so. I know Tyreek Black was a guy that a lot of people talked about, and it did seem like there was even some mutual interest there between the two parties. But I don't see that being the case.
That's not what I was hearing last week.
Yeah, I don't see Georgia going that direction any longer.
You went from slim pickings. When it comes to you look back at this Baylor game with all the wide receivers that are out, and guys that were on the team last year that either went to the NFL or were dismissed, or guys that were bumped off. So you have those situations, and then all of a sudden I don't say you're loaded at wide receiver, but you got so much potential wide receiver. I don't know that a graduate transfer there is. And again, you saw how great Lawrence Cager was, so you're like, hey, do that again. That worked out great. Sure. I just don't know that you're ready for that because, you got George Pickens right off the bat.
We needed tight end. We needed a tight end.
Yeah.
We needed a quarterback. We got 1 or 2 spaces left.
I've heard
if you count the 2 that we got, Van Pran and Broderick, we got 2 or 1 spaces depending on who else we got. Don't you think?
You don't have much to work.
I have gotten this question. I'm sorry it's not on our list, but I've gotten this question like 4 or 5 times. What are you hearing about a grad transfer offensive tackle? I've not heard anything.
I haven't either.
Yeah, I would think we'd take one of those before we would a wide receiver now.
Yeah,
but,
that would make a lot more sense.
But you'd want one that
Especially with
could,
not zero, the fact you lost so many times. Losing Cade Mays seems to me like all of a sudden you're like, hey, we need an experienced offensive tackle. But I couldn't even give you a list of names right now.
if we would do that, I would do that after signing day when Broderick signed them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I wouldn't do it to him then. But I was glad to see that you stepped up on the table by Broderick because I feel the same way. I mean, everybody worries about it, but the guys have been committed to us a long time. I think the fact that Auburn lost their line coach and now they're bringing in a guy that worked for Luke. So Luke told him, don't go see him. Jack Bicknell Jr., good coach. His dad was a good coach at Boston College, and Jack's been in the pros and did a good job at Louisiana Tech and took over the O-line down there at Ole Miss when Luke got the head job, and he'll be a good addition over there at Auburn.
Yeah, just maybe not this cycle.
Yeah.
I don't know that he'll be able to finish it out this cycle.
Well, you look at their line, though, they're bringing in 3 JUCOs and like 2 3-stars at this point. So
yeah, they got a loaded group of experienced guys who are going to be vying right away. And with Georgia, we got this question too over on YouTube. Somebody said, how does the offensive line look next year? Obviously, we talked about Cade Mays' departure last week. Well, we haven't really talked about it, but I don't think anything else needs to be said. It was one of the weirder stories that's happened since I've been covering Georgia football, and I think you too probably
so
in the
as far
25
as how
years.
we look, I like Truss. I like Condon. Condon's going to come on. He had surgery on his shoulder. He's really working hard. I mean, he'll be a good, solid player. I really like the way that Erickson played in the game. We got Hill, we got Salyer, we got, we got some good offensive linemen. And Luke, we're going to pull him a little more. We're going to do some different techniques. And he's a very energetic developer of talent. And I feel good about Ratledge, Van Pran, Broderick Jones. I mean,
Chad Lindbergh had a good all-star season.
Don't forget Clay Webb, another 5-star that's kind of tucked in there.
And then, we got Clay. So,
and you've seen pictures of that Devin Willock kid that they took.
Oh, yeah.
Who,
he's a little bit more of a project like the guy
definitely.
this year, the right tackle from South Georgia is going to come on. What's his name?
McClendon.
McClendon.
Yeah.
So, it's not anything like when Kirby got here.
Sure.
That O-line. And
that's the first thing he complained about.
We might trend toward a little bit more sveltness and not quite as much mass.
I'll tell you who's looking svelte right now is Broderick. He's in basketball shape, and he looks
got
good.
a big game tomorrow night, too.
Yeah.
Friday night. I wonder who's going to be there.
I don't know. Hey, let's not forget a certain Justin Schaefer.
True.
Yeah,
I know he's got the neck issue, but remember, Justin was pushing for a starting job. He
came in and did a good job when we got injuries there, and we got Cleveland. Don't forget about. I think Cleveland would be huge from an experience standpoint, and you got to think he's coming back.
Well, think about absolutely. Well, we heard he was. So if you have Trey Hill at center, and then Ben Cleveland at right guard, and Jamari Sawyer at right tackle, the right side of your line's pretty lined up, and you can move those guys around. But I'm just saying from an experience standpoint, that's 3 guys who've done some good work, Warren Erickson, I thought, played really good. I spoke to him after the game, just as a pure lineman, just quick, short answers, all about just be the man in front of him.
A lot of pride there, a lot of pride.
I mean, that kid, he's and I kind of teased him. I'm like, people don't talk about you as much. He goes, that's perfectly fine by me. You shouldn't be talking about offensive linemen unless they messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how they like it.
Yeah. So, he's tough.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's
really
got
he was a team captain. He was a team captain at left tackle for that North Gwinnett squad that won state.
Yeah, I mean,
he was?
He was. Kid's tough. So
yeah.
That's good.
Something that is not tough is when you're trying to decide where to go eat, and you say you got a big group of people, and everyone's like, well, I want this, I want that, and you're just worried about trying to get everybody to agree on something. Take them out to Academia Brewing Company. It's on the west side of Athens. It's a phenomenal place. They have so many different beers for you to try. They make them there. They also do what do you call it when you bring in another brewery and put them together?
A collaboration.
Collaborations with some of the biggest breweries in town. So fantastic group out there to go out and have great different beers. But then the food, there's so many different types of food that you can have out there. Whatever you're in the mood for. The appetizers are fantastic. The entrees are great. Great place to watch games. We got the playoffs coming up. The Super Bowl. If you want to go out and have a great place to watch a game, have great meals, and then of course you can just get the flights of beer. You can try these different types and just do different
make sure
flights.
to take an Uber.
Yeah,
you're gonna want.
And
it.
even then, if some people say, "Well, I don't like this." I feel weird going to a restaurant or a place like that and watching the entire game because you're sitting at a table and it's like you've been here 3 hours. The waitress comes by and you've already eaten. They have the lounge there in the front part of it.
Yeah,
where you can walk in. They got these big couches and the TVs, and you can sit on the couches and keep drinking the great different beers. Again, take your Uber home, drink responsibly, and just a great place to watch it. So, again, the folks out there, Georgia graduates, great customer service. So when you get a chance, swing by our friends out at Academia Brewing Company. Fantastic sponsors of our site.
All right, getting a lot of questions here about a second running back in the class of 2020. I maintain you need to keep watching Dejan Edwards. I think that he's a guy, like we've talked about him multiple times on this show. And outside of him, I do think that it's possible that Georgia could peck around and find a surprise guy like they did with Brian Harrion back in the day.
Right.
These guys,
Zach Evans.
These guys. Oh God. Don't do that to me. It's a situation though where
never say never.
Never say never, certainly. And I think though that it's they're going to play their open roster spots as well as anybody. Kirby's going to fill those spots. He's not going to leave holes on the roster. So I do think that the potential is there for a second running back. Won't surprise me if they don't do it in the end. And somebody said, "What about next year? Are you going to take two?" I do think that you probably end up taking two in next year's class. It's really kind of an underrated class, I think, in that regard. You got two really good ones in state, and Cody Brown, and, well, technically he's not in state anymore, but Lavassier Carroll's from Warrenton, Georgia, just an hour down the road. He's got a lot of Georgia, love back home. So
one thing we will know with you guys, the way you scout these people, the month of January, wherever Dell is visiting,
yes,
that's where we're going to be hitting those backs. Just like last January, I was talking to Dell over there at a basketball game. I said, "Where are you going?" He said, "Man," he said, "I'm going to California, then I'm going to Las Vegas, then I'm going to Texas, Milton, Washington, Evans." That was in January. So where's he going this year?
Yeah,
I hope he goes, first of all, to
discuss, but talking about his recruitment will be fun to hear. A lot of questions about Brock, obviously, after the decommitment. January 1st opens things up from Oklahoma. That seemed like a pretty good landing spot for him, but I was told, and he even said, in fact, over the holidays, spending time with the family, he kind of realized, I don't want to be that far away from my family. Georgia obviously gives him a pretty good option to do that if he so chooses. And I like Georgia's chances with Vandegrift right now. I think they're really strong.
Vandegrift and Williams, two really good quarterbacks, and hard to get both of them. You need to get one of them.
I wrote an article today. I'm doing a new series at UGASports.com, so come over and check it out. 5 early guys to watch for 21 at each position. Quarterback.
You have 5 at each position?
Well, I'm going to, yeah. I just started with quarterback today, and it was hard to do. Honestly, it was 5. It was hard to do 5 at quarterback.
Who were the other 3?
I went with Garrett Nussmeier, who has an offer.
One in North Carolina.
Miller Moss, who's a West Coast kid. He's going to stay out west. And then Preston Stone's another kid who had the offer, but not a committable one at this point. He committed to SMU during the Adidas All-American game. So it's really a 2-man race there, but the other ones will be a lot more interesting, I promise.
And I think with the resources you got on the internet now, just go cut on the highlights and watch these guys. You can see the kind of athleticism both. Certainly, Williams playing a very difficult schedule there, a national schedule up there. That's a really tough team he plays on. And Brock came back from a tough injury to really almost propel his team in the state championship. And good athlete and, coach's son, another coach's son. You can't beat those guys.
Also runs track.
Yeah, that's true.
Last time I was out there, saw him running the 100.
Yeah.
So
really?
Yeah.
And he mentioned this.
He used to run
track. I got this
question
earlier.
What were you in track? Shot put?
Shot put, discus, baby.
Okay.
He's a 100-meter guy. Come on.
I don't even jump up to eat.
All right, now
Pole vault.
I think I've got some thoughts on this, but Coach, I think that you probably got a little bit better insight on it than I do. Alo Leo, I believe is how this guy says it over on the board. Sorry if I'm messing that up, buddy. But this was something that we mentioned in an interview that we did with Brock Vandegrift last April. He said, one of the big things that helped USC, some of those early 2000s USC teams, was they had a string of quarterbacks from Southern California, and they were kind of able to get on campus really frequently and kind of, be able to throw around at summers with hey, call up a guy who's on campus here. Hey, let's go throw at the park, whatever. This guy says, what is access to team facilities like for players who are committed but not on campus? Can a 2020 player come by to work out or talk with coaches when they'd like? Could a 2021 commit who the coaches trust come by and work out or watch film? I don't know what the NCAA allows versus what a team allows.
He can come over here any day of the week and twice on Sunday to talk as an unofficial, regardless where he lives. He can come over here and come walk in the meeting room and watch tape, do anything. But as actually go out on the field with any of our players or anything, it can't be anything scripted. I mean, he could maybe meet him over at the park or something and do that. But
right.
As far as just working out on our facilities, you can't do that until you're signed. And there's an insurance part there too. So,
sure.
But I do think there's a lot to be said about being close to home as far as, knowing as much as you can about the program, watching us practice. I know, but it's a little different if he's in a camp situation. He can come over here and do that. Like he could throw with if our players are out there and he's in the camp or something. But
that's a kid that could watch a ton of practices.
Exactly.
But they had good.
Yeah. That's the thing. He could be out there every single day.
Yeah, they had a good situation.
There's no limit on that. There's no limit on unofficial visits as long as he's paying his way and he's paying that whole 75 cents in gas to drive from Bogart over here.
That does have his practice schedule too, and
sure,
Georgia tends
sure.
to practice in the afternoon, so he's going to be busy doing his stuff. But those Saturday practices,
absolutely,
he can come over and watch them. I could see him reaching out to some guys in this class saying, "Hey, let's meet over the intramural fields."
Yep.
Yeah.
Everybody
that's
walking distance for a lot of those Georgia players, that can do it. So
anybody that signs and is committed to a school after the national letter of intent, when it goes into effect, they get a weight program, they get a playbook, they get a deal about student orientation, they get all that stuff going right off the bat, and then you just you can fortify that coming in and meeting and watching the tape and cut-ups.
I want your thoughts on another kid out of Tiger, Georgia. Gunnar
Stockton, yeah. We're getting a lot of questions about him. 2022, looking like maybe the top quarterback in that class, and a guy who's just putting unreal numbers together up there. I'll tell you this. A lot of people have come to the board and said, well, what happens if we take Brock Vandegrift or we take Caleb
That's what
Williams
I'm asking right now.
And will that dissuade him? You can't think like that. You got to go bird in the hand always in the world of recruiting. That's my take. You may feel differently. I don't know.
Well, our MO has been that. We had Eason, we took Fromm. We had Eason and Fromm, we took Fields. So, I mean, you got to take them. Everybody needs one. Everybody needs two. So, I think Gunnar is certainly a good young player, and he'll continue to develop. He's got amazing stats, similar to what the kid at Marietta had. That's going to Tennessee. So we'll just have to see there. I mean, he's got 2 more years, but he might make a move here fairly quickly. He
wants to be committed before his junior year.
Well, that's this year, then.
That's what
yes,
I'm saying.
It is.
So that's kind of why I'm asking. Normally, I'm like a 2022 guy. We got time to talk about
summer. And the thing about it is, though, I just can't. Given all the things that can change within 2 years, there's no possible way, in my mind, that you shoot down a top, maybe the number 1 quarterback in the 2021 class for the opportunity to roll the dice on a kid in 2022.
Oh, I agree 100%.
That's what Kirby does a good job with these DBs. Everybody just said, look, we're going to let you compete. We're going to give. You think Ringo was worried about 2 outstanding corners coming back with a backup too? I mean, actually 3 when you got Daniels, Stokes, and Stevenson and Campbell. I mean, but he's coming, isn't he?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of these kids realize it's like, look, if I'm scared of the competition in this one program, how the hell am I going to make it in the NFL when you got 32 starting quarterback spots?
Well, and the other realistic aspect of it is that the transfer portal is what it is now. And so if you find yourself in a situation where you come to a school, you say, I can beat this guy, it doesn't work out that way, you've got an out. You've got an opportunity to go somewhere and do it again.
Was it 3 out of the 4 playoff teams had a transfer quarterback?
Yes.
I made your point for you.
There
so
you
there you go. You're welcome. You're so welcome.
Where do you think that kid from Houston's going?
I don't know. He ought to go to Oklahoma.
I tell you what, the more people ask Jake about it, the more he'll say they're coming to Georgia.
I got 2 texts this morning after the kid, Derek King, that's his name, right?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
The kid from Houston threw 36 touchdown passes as a sophomore with 6 picks. I looked it up after I saw it. LSU is supposedly in on this kid.
Really? What a great fit.
Oh, boy.
Can you imagine if
Him to chase.
Scurry.
Him to chase.
Yeah.
The 3 schools I heard were LSU, Miami, which I don't know why he would go there except they need him, and, of course, Arkansas, where Kendall Briles is now the offensive coordinator, and he was his offensive coordinator at Houston. But he's a whirling dervish now. I mean, a very quick kid that can throw. I mean, he beat Oklahoma 2 years ago. He's just a tremendous quarterback.
Absolutely. No question about it. And that
Just
would be
a little small.
That would be scary for the SEC West for sure. Definitely next year.
It really piss Nick off.
Yeah, you'd have to think so. But yeah, like I said, I think that it's a situation for these guys where Georgia is where they are. They've managed the roster well in the quarterback respect. I trust them to handle it again with the 2021 and 2022 class. You never know what's going to happen between now and 2022. For all we know, I mean, there's no sign that Gunnar Stockton's, stock is going to drop at all. But hell, the kid may decide next year that he wants to go pro in baseball. You know what I'm saying?
A great example of that to me, as far as planning and all that. This last 2 or 3 weeks has been a lot of upheaval as far as who's going to leave and all. Swift coming to the game, from going back and forth, but dead period. Nobody can visit the campus. Nobody can do that. Do you just think overnight that Jamie Newman and this McKitty kid decided to come to Georgia after they entered the transfer?
They just woke up after the end of the dead period and said, I think that's what I want to do.
So I'm just saying.
That's exactly what happened, Coach.
They couldn't visit. They couldn't visit. But that's just tremendous. That's just tremendous foresight, isn't it?
No.
Yeah.
It is. And
that's dealing with legally, too. That's dealing with the channels behind the scenes, their representatives, their other people, and going by the rules, but being on top of it and just snatching them up. I thought that's tremendous. Now, I don't think anybody gives them credit for that.
No, you have to have a plan.
But they're worried about, are we going to take a 2022 guy when you just brought in a guy like that?
No, I mean, the questions pop up. I'm going to be heading down to the Azalea City Civil Club in Valdosta on Thursday to talk to those folks. We're going to have a nice little dinner party down there. And I need some homework done. And so I need to rely on you for this question, Coach. We talked about, Georgia's offensive line.
Homework.
Yeah, because I'm going to get asked this question, and I want to say that I asked you. We talked about that offensive line thing and some of the guys where you'd slot them in.
I thought Wilmington, North Carolina was Azalea City. Well, that's where I thought you were going to
fight it out with
Valdosta. Yeah, they can fight it. Hey, when you're all
right, that's good. I mean, the reason I said that, I wonder you going to Wilmington, but you're actually going to Valdosta.
Going to Valdosta. Got some good friends down there. They're going to have us down there.
All right.
We mentioned we kind of plugged some guys in, but give me your hypothetical starting offensive line for spring when they walk them out there. How would you line them up right now?
Boy, I just don't know what Coach Luke's looking for there. I mean,
it's tough, but I mean, just give me a shot in the dark.
I mean, this is not for public
consumption.
You got Hill, Cleveland, Jamari. Whether you put Jamari at left tackle or not, I don't know. And
That's
then
a tough call.
And then Schaefer if he's back, Schaefer or Erickson, and then where you put Truss is going to be important too. I think that's the 6 or 7 right there you look at, and then we don't have any graduate transfer freshmen. I mean, we don't have any early enrollee freshmen.
That's a good point. Yeah. So
We were looking at Braun was coming
Yep.
in there early.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I think you got.
And the Torrey Johnson, is he going to stay over there too? So he's a good athlete.
Quick question to Tori before the game. Turns to me and goes, I don't know if I was offensive lineman or defensive lineman today.
I don't care.
He's so happy to be out there. This is before the bowl game. He's just cutting up. He absolutely knew because he was dressed as an offensive lineman, but he just popped over to give me some grief about it, and
Well, it'll be, and I think it's going to be really interesting.
great. Great.
We need to ask
personality there.
Stats Dave. When's the last time 2 offensive linemen were drafted, 2 offensive tackles? I know in the first round, I know Notre Dame had the guard and the tackle that we played, but 2 tackles.
Same school?
No, for anywhere. That's going to be impressive. You know what?
Yeah.
I think Wilson's going up there.
Yeah, when you let him get through that combine, put up those
Talking
numbers.
about making mouths water.
It's funny you mentioned that Broderick Jones is in that basketball shape.
Yeah.
One of the greatest transformations we've ever seen is Isaiah Wilson, day one to this final day. That guy, when they look at him, they're going to be like, yeah, we need this kid that's felt, that guy that can run.
We got 2 big people to replace on our strength staff. Ed Ellis and, the guy that got Malik, what's his first name? Jamil Walker. 2 outstanding guys behind the scene. These guys work these kids, work them at practice. I mean, those are going to be very big hires for Kirby to get those 2.
He's also got he's got an open position, director of recruiting operations.
That's true.
Do not.
Got to.
He cheats.
Contrary to what?
Boost my
No, I'm
chances?
not saying anything.
Contrary to what Bernie Sanders says to Elizabeth Warren, I think it's more of a woman's job.
We did get one question. I want to close out on this one. Christopher Rules says, all the way out here in San Diego, California, question for all. Does Georgia still have a chance to close out with the #1 recruiting class for 2020?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to say that is still on the table. Not impossible.
Well, aren't they sitting #2 right now?
They are, and I think that you've got some pieces still floating around out there. And I look,
You hold a 5-star and you get another 5-star.
Yep.
Could happen.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Which we're going to hold the 5-star.
That's
I
a gutsy
agree.
call.
That's
I
what
agree.
you told me.
I
That's
agree.
why I don't. I mean,
They're both saying it. I'm nervous about it, but then again,
No, I'm saying it
always
because
nervous.
my man said I don't know anything about recruiting.
See, that's what. No, you stealing my job where I take what he and Trent say and pretend it's my opinion, and it makes me look good. Anyway, folks, tune in next Tuesday. We'll have a lot more to talk about. We'll also have, we didn't even touch on basketball. We need to do that next week's show. But we got a lot of recruiting. Hopefully, we'll have some recruiting updates from
We're
this
going to
weekend.
talk about basketball on the show.
Oh yeah. Heck, we might even talk a little track and field. We saw with our boy Matt Bowling out there running around. So, anyway, we'll talk to you next Tuesday. Everyone, take care.